let me start to talk about Amani. Amani Children's Home is a center for street children. We are in Tanzania, East Africa, about probably 8,000 kilometers from here. And we exist for more than 13 years now. Amani was started by a few Tanzanians who just saw all these children come to the street and believed we need to do something. These children are wasting their lives on the street. These children are, some of them, dying on the street, falling sick on the street, getting HIV on the street. We need to do something. So they started Amani in 2001. And now, 2015, it is, I wanted to say 14, but it's 15, we have grown in 13 years to one of the best established organizations for street children in the whole region of East Africa. What you see here is a longer version of our Amani slogan. Rescuing children, restoring hope, transforming lives. And I have to be honest with you, when I came to Amani first, I didn't particularly like this slogan. I felt that's a bunch of big words. Rescuing children, restoring hope, transforming lives. To me, it felt like a somewhat too much top-line oriented salesperson had devised this particular slogan. But then I came to Amani, and I worked at Amani for only 1 week or 10 days, and it changed my mind. Because I realized that this, rescuing children, restoring hope, transforming lives, is exactly what we do. Day in, day out. This is not a sales pitch. This is a correct reflection of the Amani reality. So I've actually grown very fond of this slogan. Now, how do we do that? How do we rescue children from the streets, restore their hope, transform their lives? There are a couple of important elements of Amani's work. One is, we have our social workers going out into the streets of Moshi and Arusha, the big cities in northern Tanzania. And they go out into the streets to try and meet with the children who live there, try and meet with the children who work there, slowly build a relationship of trust, so that hopefully these children who've had so many very difficult experiences with adults in their life come to trust them and are willing to leave the streets behind and come to the Amani Children's Home, the second pillar of our work. In the Amani home, children get the chance to be children again, to relax, to normalize their lives, to sit on the swings, to play football, instead of being in the streets, doing all sorts of dangerous work, fending for yourself. Suddenly, when children come to Amani, instead of looking 15, 16 when they come in the first day, you realize, this child, this boy, this girl is only 12. And you see them sitting on the swings, singing a song, and going to class every day. And that's the third pillar of our work, quality education. Because we do believe that if you want to help these children out of poverty and want to make sure that these children ultimately will not be parents of a new generation of street children, you need to offer them quality education. And then ultimately, the fourth pillar of our work is reunification. Amani is not an orphanage. There's a lot of research that shows that spending your entire childhood in an orphanage setup is not very healthy. So if at all there is a chance to be reunified to your parents, or to your grandmother, or to your auntie or uncle, that's what we will work towards. We also do that because we want to help as many children as possible. So once we reunify children in their families and we follow up with them, it opens up new space to come into the Amani Children's Home. But not all kids have family to be reunified to. And that's really sad. It's sad that there are children who just don't have any safe adult in their life that they can live with. So one of the things that we are actually starting to construct from next month onwards is youth transition houses, which is meant for those children who don't have family, who can come after they've lived at Amani, this big place, for a long time, come to that place, get a lot of skills building on living independently, and then move out, live on their own. So these are the pillars. Now what do we achieve? And I want to just show you a few of the statistics, and statistics may be boring, but in my life they are not, and in the lives of these children they are not. A few of the statistics of our work. So here we go. Well, here we go. Yes, here we go. 86 children were rescued from the streets in 2014 and brought to live at the Amani Children's Home. Can we have some volume on these slides? 145 children lived at the Amani Children's Home at any point in time, being children again, having decent food again, having a safe space to be. 205 children and youth in 2014 were supported for their education by Amani. About 100 of them for their primary education, and about 100 of them for their secondary education or basic vocational training after their primary school. And that's very special in Tanzania. A lot of children don't have the chance to move on after they finish their primary education. But what's more, we have 7 children now in college or university. 7 children who didn't only do primary, did also do secondary, and who then moved on to college and university. And here you may think, well, we all went to college. What's special about that? In Tanzania, it's less than 1% of all the youth that has a chance to go to college. And we have 7 youth who, through the support of Amani, now are in that stage in university. Teachers' college, veterinary medicine, lab technician, someone studying at the university cultural heritage and tourism. And yes, even one studying hotel management. For the 4th year in a row, Amani has a 100% pass rate for our primary education that we do in-house. Again, if you compare that to Tanzania in general, primary school pass rates are around 55%. Our kids come from the streets, from extremely difficult backgrounds, into Amani, do a double-speed program. We do 7 years of primary education in only 3 to 4 years, and still we have 100% pass rates for 4 years in a row. And again, 100% pass rates. 59 children we reunified with their families in the past 1 year. That's 59 families together again. 59 children and youth who can contribute to their societies again. And one thing that I'm particularly proud of, we now have 37 street girls that we rescued and have in our caseload. And working with girls is extremely difficult, to the point that when I joined Amani, now more than 4 years ago, we had discussions, should we stop working with the girls? Because we just are not able to get them in, to make them succeed. But we, as a whole, all the staff and management said, no, never. We want to be there for every child, boy, girl, easy, difficult. And now, last year, out of those 86 that we rescued, 12 were girls. That means once a month, on average, a girl rescued from the street giving a positive future, and 37 of them in our caseload. And last but not least, we have, and I think I can safely say, though we weren't that good in counting numbers in the early years, we've by now rescued more than 1,000 children from the streets into positive futures. I think these statistics are not dull. I think if you ask these children about their lives, that they are so happy with what we offer. Thank you. I agree, yes, these statistics are not bad. But if I'm honest, to me personally, it's not about these big bangs statistics, but it's about the everyday small successes that we book. It's about the small stars and the small fireworks. And I want to give you a few examples, such as Beta, a 10-year-old girl who, at the age of 9, came away from home, started living on the street, immediately was trafficked by some men into domestic slavery, so worked as a house help in some family without any pay, long hours, without any future. We were able to rescue her last year, this 2014, from that situation. And when she came to Amani, she was wild. She was crying all the time. And not just silently crying, but loudly crying to the point that it drove us crazy. And we really thought, this girl is psychiatric. Something is completely wrong. We're not sure whether Amani is able to help her. Now, just a few months later, she has completely calmed down, is just an ordinary, happy 10-year-old girl, and is one of our star performers in our acrobats team. I think those examples are the real fireworks. Or I already mentioned about having someone studying hotel management, and that's a beautiful young woman called Regina Molel. We rescued her in 2004, 10 years ago, and we are still supporting her. We rescued her from the streets where she was with her mother, who was begging on the street to basically get the money to pay for her alcohol addiction. Fortunately, Amani was able to rescue Regina, a 10-year-old girl, from that situation before her life could turn really worse, and got her into Amani. She did her primary education at Amani. She then moved to boarding school for her secondary education, and she's now a beautiful young woman who I just recently saw, and I realized, wow, I can so imagine that you, with your hotel management diploma, can be such an asset to whatever hotel will employ you. Regina Molel. Or another example, again, a small fireworks, but to me very big, is a 11-year-old boy, very tiny, very lean, called Emanuele Pascali. He came to Amani also this year, 2014, and was completely addicted to inhaling glue and to smoking marijuana. Mind you, this is an 11-year-old boy, very tiny, looks like he's 9. When he came to Amani, I tried to be creative, and I made a bet with him. You're not going to stay for even 2 weeks. And I kept repeating that, which possibly helped a little, but 2 weeks later he was still there. He would jump the wall occasionally during the day, go out, beg a little money, smoke something, and come back. At some point he came to my office and said, Meindert, I have such an urge, what can I do? And I said, well, let's make a poster together. And we sat behind my computer and we searched pictures of the internet about a skull with smoke. And he typed the whole text saying, Emanuele, don't use marijuana again. Emanuele, please stay at Amani. We printed that out, one on his small locker, one on his bed. And it helped him. Our kitchen mamas, our cooks, said, Emanuele, you have this habit of smoking and of sniffing glue. What you need is ginger. But not just ginger with a pinch of salt. I don't think there's any truth in it, but he believed it. Ginger and a pinch of salt, that helps. So the cooks every day would slice off a bit of ginger with a bit of salt. He chews it the whole day, and he feels it helps him. Now, a couple of months later, he is at Amani. He doesn't jump the wall anymore. He's one of the star students in class. Or another example, again, a small boy, 12 years old, called Alfani. We reunified him with his family in the west of Tanzania, in Mwanza. Unfortunately, after 2 or 3 months, he got some problems in the school, and then he got some problems at home, and his older brother was using marijuana and wanted him to use. So he decided to leave home again, which of course is not something that we want. But the special thing is, he left home, 12-year-old boy, and then hitchhiked 867 kilometers to come back to Amani, because he knew in Amani they can help me. 12-year-old boy, imagine, that's hitchhiking from Copenhagen to Vienna, or from Oslo to Amsterdam. 2 more examples. Ramadani Kibwana, a 22-year-old young man. I'm just cutting myself short a little. I am going way beyond time. And I don't know what to do. Do I have permission, or should I cut things short? Go ahead. Can you manage? Yeah? Because I have so many pictures I want to show as well. Ramadani Kibwana, 22 years old, who just now, a couple of months ago, graduated Teachers College. And he came back to Amani to do some logistical stuff. And the teachers saw him and they were so proud that they said, oh man, we need to go out into town, buy him a gift, buy him a present, and give him something. Because he was one of the first youth who, after going through Amani, now is a teacher himself. So they called him into their office, gave a little speech, gave him the gift. And then they thought, okay, that's it, let's go. Because in Tanzania, youth are extremely shy. And there is a huge hierarchy and respect. So if you're a 22-year-old, oh, am I there? Am I there still? Yeah. If you're a 22-year-old, you won't speak out in public. But this Ramadani, the moment the teacher stood up and wanted to leave the room, said, oh, wait, I want to say something. And he spoke for 15 minutes about his life, about all the things that Amani had done to help him, and how proud he is that he is now a teacher himself. And he promised, with the hand on his heart, that he will do everything in his powers to help the children that he will have in his class to succeed and not go into the difficulties that he had in his life. And a final example, a girl called Mary, 13 years old, who lived in a small village with her mom, her single mom. And basically, mom couldn't take care of her. And there was no supervision, so at the age of 12 or so, she already started engaging, maybe in exchange for food or in exchange for anything, with men in sexual activities in her village. 12 years old. Then when the situation at home became really bad, she came to the street and continued the sexual activities that she had grown used to. And several boys in the street, who Amani knows and who know Amani, came to our social worker and said, there is this new girl in the street, Mary, and she's doing all these things. This is not good. You need to do something. And we were able to rescue her, bring her to Amani, and normalize her life. When she came in again, she was wild. I often think of her like a soldier. She is I don't know, she's a very powerful personality. She was wild when she came to Amani in a very negative way. Now, a couple of months later, she's still wild, but wild and joyful, wild and happy. These are just some examples, which I think add to the statistics. So now, let's move into the pictures. Amani Children's Home. This is our place, and we are very proud of it. A safe, loving, happy place where children can live without dangers that they have had on the street. Where children can just sleep safely without the risk that the police will beat you up or that someone wants to have sex with you. Where you can grow strong again because you get healthy food and 3 meals a day. Where you can start to feel part of a loving family again. And where you can be just simply a child again. And it's so needed that we are doing this, because their realities where they came from are not like that. This is a reasonably typical house of one of the children and his family. That's the reality they came from. Or in the cities, the slums that often their families live in. And kids who already are not in school, but who are sort of forced to go with mom on the street to beg, or to work already on the street to make some money to help the family. And then the street life they get into. Rummaging around, fending for yourself, trying to make some money to just come through the day. Working in all sorts of difficult and hazardous situations. Like I mentioned before, at a very young age, getting addicted to sniffing glue or smoking marijuana. And sleeping out rough on the streets.
Nimeteseka sana hapa hivi, kufukuzwa na maskari, kwenda kunyanyaswa na kuja unamwagiwa maji wakati umelala. Yaani matatizo mengi yamenitukuta. Sasa hivi ndio nikaja nikapata msaada. Walezi wa kituo cha Amani wakaja wakanisaidia. Sasa hivi niko nasoma kituoni. Sina shida, sasa hivi najisomea. Nashauri kwa wale wadogo zangu ambao bado wanaendelea kuteseka. Naomba kama tutapata msaada kama huu, naomba tusaidiwe. Mimi hapa hivi nimepata msaada, nasaidiwa na kituo cha Amani, nimetulia nasaidiwa. Sasa hivi nasoma.
Kwa nini kusoma ni muhimu?
Kusoma ni muhimu maana itatusaidia maisha yetu ya baadaye. Kuja kuwa watu wazima.
So Charles left the street behind. And he tells all his younger brothers and his fellow street peers, please take the opportunity. When you meet someone from Amani, don't feel anxious, trust them, and take their support. And he is now studying in a vocational training school. So these street children leave the streets behind and come to the Amani home. Like these 2 boys, Paolo and Kelvin. And when they come in, one of the first things is to make sure that they get proper medical treatment. Often they are very malnourished, and often they have all sorts of wounds and difficulties. We give them counseling, not just by the psychological counselor that we employed last year, but by all staff. Because at Amani, everyone is a caregiver, everyone is a counselor. Whether you're the accountant, whether you're the cleaning mama, whether you're the cook. And be children again. Like I mentioned, we also make sure that we get them back into education. And the reason that we do a double speed program is that most of these kids come to us when they are already 10 or 11 years old, and they've had hardly any education, maybe 1 year, maybe no school at all. So to get them up to speed with their peers, we do this double speed program with 100% pass rates. We also offer them basic skills training, like carpentry, farming. And I think this farming, this is a project that we want to build more strongly in 2015, is really powerful because it makes children really feel proud about building their own food, growing their own food, and then eating their own food. We also have a small computer room where children can learn some basics of computers. But it's not only formal education. Amani also strongly believes in all sorts of talents building. When children come off the street, maybe you can imagine, their self-esteem often is very low. At home already, parents, others weren't very kind to them. Then they came to the street and everyone looked at them as though they were criminals. So their self-esteem often is down there somewhere. And we at Amani want to use not only school, but also football, dance, drumming, art, drawing, etc., to find for each individual child that one thing or the two things that he or she is really good at, so that he or she can feel proud again of themselves and can develop self-esteem again. Like our Amani acrobats. Or kids who just love to draw and paint. And our Ngoma group, which is traditional dance and drumming. Or sometimes just giving them the space to do whatever they want to do with their creativity. And here you see a couple of 14-year-olds who decided to make their own mini pool table with marbles and a small stick to play, and they played for days. Ultimately, we want these kids to be happy and healthy again, and we want them to succeed. Like this boy, one example.
James Wilbard is a boy who Amani rescued 5 years ago.
I stayed in Amman while I was still studying up to class 7.
And after completed his standard 7, we tried to reunify him with his family.
Then it was very difficult for me to stay with my father and my stepmother in the same house.
It's a very challenging house. It's got just one room and it's made through mud.
And even the house was not having a bed to sleep, see.
But Amani did not want to give up on him.
If it was food, we should support them food. If it was a school material, we should provide them school materials. But also, if it's a house program, we're trying to build a house for them.
Amani took a step they had never taken before, and with the support of donations, decided to start building James and his father a house.
Our intention just to make sure that James don't think about anything. He has to focus about the school.
These are some of the past papers. This is chemistry. This is the English subject, which I got 94. This is mathematics. I think I will reach my goals. I want to be an engineer. Before that, I was already to give up. This is again biology. Maybe if I know I want to be an engineer, I'll be a doctor. Thank you. Because you are the one who is supporting Amani. And Amani are the one who is supporting husband. I must reach my goals. I must reach on what I wanted to be. I must be an engineer. No way out. And I must pay all the things that Amani has done to me.
I just love this video. I'm sorry I spent 5 hours subtitling it last week, and then the program crashed. So it's a little difficult to follow, but I just love the way he speaks. I love the way he authentically says, I must be an engineer, no way out. Or that small sentence in between where he says, if I can't be an engineer, I'll be a doctor. Amazing. Ultimately, we want them not just to succeed, but to go back into their own communities and be contributing members there. And we do so with most of the kids. So yes, in a nutshell, Amani works with 250 children at any point in time. Every year, we rescue 75 to 90 children. In our Amani Children's Home, at any point in time, we have between 70 and 90 children staying there. We support the education of 200 to 210 children at any point in time. And like I showed before, since 2001, we've been able to rescue more than 1,000 children from the streets and brought them into positive futures. So yes, rescuing children, restoring hope, transforming lives. I love that motto, because it's exactly what we do.